"Meet the family embarrassment," my parents announced, raising their glasses at a wedding toast. "Our daughter works at a grocery store." The room erupted with laughter. Not warm laughter. Not friendly. Mocking. Cruel. Every chuckle stabbed deeper. Every smile twisting the knife they'd driven into my chest. My parents looked proud, as if my humiliation was their entertainment for the evening. I just smiled. A brittle, practiced smile. Picked up my glass. Walked away before the tears could rise. Because crying in front of them, that would have been their encore. I found a quiet corner near the French doors, the ballroom's golden light spilling over my dress. My hands trembled around the glass stem, my reflection in the window blurred by tears I refused to shed. My name is Harper Lane, and if you think you know how this ends, stay tuned. Because what happens when the shame they throw at you turns into the fire that burns down their pride? The music swelled behind me, laughter and chatter rolling on like I didn't exist. And maybe that's what they wanted, that I disappear into the wallpaper, erased and forgotten. But then, a voice cut through the noise. Low. Calm. Measured. "Ms. Lane." I turned. The best man stood there, tall in a black suit, his expression sharp, professional, not mocking. His words made the air shift. "I'm your head of security. Shall we leave?" My breath caught. Security? My security? The words pulsed in my ears, steady and impossible. Around us, no one else noticed. The music played, the laughter swirled, the chandeliers glittered. But my world tilted. I set the glass down, my pulse racing, every humiliation at that table replaying like a trailer in my mind. And in that moment I knew, this story wasn't about being their embarrassment. This was about becoming their reckoning. The word security lingered in the air like smoke. I blinked at him, trying to steady my voice. Security? For me, the best man's expression didn't flinch. "Yes, Ms. Lane. I work for you. And frankly, I don't think you should waste another second in this room." Behind us, laughter swelled again. Another toast, another cruel joke I couldn't hear clearly over the pounding of my own heartbeat. My parents, still basking in the glow of my humiliation, had no idea what was unraveling behind their backs. I swallowed, nerves colliding with something sharper. Curiosity. "What do you mean, you work for me?" I asked. He leaned in slightly, lowering his voice. "You'll understand when we leave. But this," his eyes flicked toward the crowded table, "this is beneath you." Beneath me. Words I had never heard in my family's mouth. To them, I was always less. The failure. The embarrassment. The girl who stocked shelves and bagged groceries while my sister flaunted her degree, and my parents collected admiration like trophies. I stared down at my glass, the reflection trembling with my shaking hands. Beneath me. What if, for once, that was true? The man extended his arm, formal and calm. "Come with me." I hesitated, glancing toward the table where my parents sat. Mom's laugh rang out, sharp and careless. Dad leaned back, smug, telling stories at my expense. My sister whispered in her friend's ear, both of them glancing my way with sly smiles. They didn't notice me stand. They didn't see me slip my arm through his. To them, I was already invisible. But that invisibility was about to end. We walked through the French doors, the night air cool against my skin. The noise of the wedding muffled behind us, replaced by crickets and the hum of distant traffic. My heels clicked against the stone steps, each sound grounding me in the reality that I had just walked away. I turned to him, voice steadier now. "Who sent you?" He stopped at the edge of the driveway, where a sleek black car waited, headlights glowing like watchful eyes. "You did, Miss Lane," he said simply. "You just don't remember." My breath caught. "What are you talking about?" He opened the door, his tone even. "Everything changes tonight. And it starts with you finally learning who you really are." The black car idled in the shadows, sleek, polished, and out of place in the gravel driveway of a rented wedding hall. Its tinted windows reflected the chandeliers from inside, like two worlds colliding, one where I was the family joke, and one where I apparently had a driver waiting. I stopped short, my heels grinding against the stone. "I didn't hire security," I said, my voice low. "You have the wrong person." The best man, my head of security, met my gaze without flinching. "You think your parents told you everything? Harper, you've lived under their lies so long, you don't even recognize the truth anymore." My stomach twisted. His words cut deeper than they should have, because they felt right. I thought of my father, always so quick to dismiss me. My mother, who could spin my failures into punchlines. My sister, perched like a queen above me, untouchable. What if the joke had always been the cover? "I don't understand," I whispered. "You will." He opened the car door, the leather interior glowing under the dome light. "But you need to decide. Do you want to keep being their embarrassment, or do you want to see the life they've hidden from you?" I froze, heart pounding. A part of me wanted to laugh, to walk back inside, and pretend this night was just another humiliation I'd swallow whole. But another part, the part that remembered every cruel smirk, every dismissal, wanted answers. My hand trembled as I reached for the door. And that's when my phone buzzed. 9:14 p.m. The same number that had called me weeks ago, the one I ignored because I thought it was a scam. This time, I answered. "Ms. Lane." The voice was crisp, official. "This is your financial institution. We've been trying to reach you about multiple accounts linked to your name. Unusual transfers. Substantial sums. All routed to your parents' address. We'll need to confirm if you authorize them." I gripped the phone so tight my knuckles whitened. "My parents." "Yes, ma'am. Since 2019. The world tilted. Inside the hall, I had been the joke. Out here, in the dark, the truth was unraveling like thread in my hands. My parents hadn't just mocked me. They had stolen from me. And the head of security, waiting by the car? He didn't look surprised at all. The phone slipped against my ear as if my body was trying to reject the words. "Transfers. Since 2019. To my parents' address." The banker's voice was steady, rehearsed. "Ms. Lane will be sending over full statements. Some of these accounts are significant. If you did not authorize them, it qualifies as fraud." Fraud. The word rang louder than the music from the ballroom. My throat tightened. "How much?" There was a pause, keys clicking faintly in the background. Then the voice returned. "Altogether, $186,000. My knees nearly buckled. I pulled the phone away, staring at the glowing screen as if the number might shrink if I looked long enough. But it didn't. $186,000. I hung up without a word. The best man, my supposed security, watched me carefully. "Now you see why I'm here," he said quietly. I shook my head, trembling. "No. This doesn't make sense. They've never had money problems. Grandpa's always funded them. Why would they?" His jaw tightened. "Because greed doesn't stop when you hand it everything. It only grows." The ballroom doors burst open behind us. My mother's laugh carried through the night air as she stepped outside, her arm looped through my father's. They didn't even notice me at first, standing there in the dark with a stranger by my side. When they did, their smiles faltered. "Harper," Mom said, her tone quick, nervous. "What are you doing out here?" Dad's eyes flicked to the black car, then to the man beside me. His jaw clenched. "Who's this?" The best man's voice was calm, even. "Her protection." Dad's face hardened. "She doesn't need protection. She needs to stop sulking and embarrassing us." The words, so familiar, no longer cut the same. Instead, they landed like proof. Proof of every lie, every theft, every ounce of disdain they'd carved into me. I straightened, lifting my chin. $186,000. Mom blinked. "What?" "That's how much you've stolen from me since 2019, I said, my voice low but steady. "And tonight, the bank finally called." Her face drained of color. Dad's lips pressed into a hard line, his silence louder than any denial. The best man stepped closer, his presence steady behind me. "They know, Ms. Lane. The evidence is there. The only question left is, how far do you want this to go?" And in that breathless moment, staring at the parents who mocked me as their shame, I realized something chilling. I finally held the power. The air outside turned thick, heavy, like even the night was listening. Mom's lips trembled, but she forced a laugh that didn't reach her eyes. Sweetheart, you've misunderstood. That money, it was just temporary. We meant to pay it back. Pay it back. $186,000. They said it like it was pocket change. Dad finally spoke, his tone sharp, impatient. Stop exaggerating. You work at a grocery store. What would you even do with that kind of money? We used it for the family. The family. Their code word for themselves. My chest burned with rage I'd been swallowing for years. Every extra shift I pulled, every bill I scraped together, every time I went without, while they paraded around in new clothes, new vacations, new stories about their success. The best man's voice cut through the storm.
Calm. Precise.
Miss Lane, the bank records are clear.
Fraud.
Identity theft. They'll face legal action. Mom's mask cracked. No, she gasped, clutching Dad's arm. You can't let this happen, Harper. We're your parents.
Parents.
The word twisted in my gut. Parents protect. Parents guide. Parents don't bleed their child dry and then serve her up as the family embarrassment at a wedding. I took a step closer, my voice low, steady. You didn't just steal my money. You stole my name. You stole my future. And you laughed while you did it. For the first time in my life, they had no script, no excuse sharp enough to cut me down. Their silence was my victory. But silence wasn't enough. I glanced at the best man. He gave the slightest nod, as if to say, "It's your move now." I pulled my phone from my clutch, scrolling through the screenshots, the statements, the proof. My thumb hovered over the contact labeled Grandpa's attorney. One call, and their world would collapse. Mom reached out, desperation raw in her eyes. Harper, please think about the family's reputation. Think about what people will say. Her words almost made me laugh. After all the times they branded me the embarrassment, now she cared about reputation. I locked eyes with her, fire burning in my chest. Exactly. And as I pressed dial, my father's face went pale. Because for the first time, he knew the embarrassment was about to be theirs. The line clicked. Law offices of Reynolds and Clark, a polished voice answered. Hello, I said, steady, though my pulse hammered in my ears. This is Harper Lane. I need to speak to Mr. Reynolds. It's regarding fraud committed against me by my parents. Dad lunged forward, snatching at the phone, but the best man stepped between us, his frame like a wall of steel. Dad's hand froze midair. For once, he was powerless. Mom's voice cracked, desperate. Harper, hang up. We'll fix this. We'll pay it back, every cent. Please don't do this. But I wasn't the scared little girl at their dinner table anymore. I wasn't the punchline. I was the reckoning. Mr. Reynolds, I said when the lawyer came on the line, his tone brisk and professional. I have proof. Transfers. Accounts. Over $186,000 stolen in my name. I want to press charges. The words left my mouth like fire, searing, final. Dad's face drained of color. Mom's hands shook violently, her eyes wide, pleading. You'll ruin us, she whispered. You'll destroy the family. I turned toward her slowly.
No. You already destroyed the family.
I'm just making sure everyone else sees it. The best man guided me a step back as Dad collapsed into a chair, his pride folding under the weight of exposure. Mom clutched his shoulder, trembling, her carefully polished image shattering into pieces. Inside the ballroom, laughter and music still played. Glasses clinked. Toasts rang out. The perfect family image danced on, untouched, while outside, the truth festered like an open wound. And soon that ballroom would know too. The attorney promised to move quickly, to secure my accounts, to initiate formal action. When I hung up, the silence between us was thick enough to choke. Dad finally looked up, his eyes cold. You think you've won, Harper? You think dragging us through the mud makes you better? I met his stare, unflinching.
No.
But it makes me free. His jaw clenched, a flicker of something dangerous passing through his eyes. "This isn't over," he muttered. The best man's hand brushed lightly against my arm, steadying me. "Actually," he said firmly, "it is." But as we turned toward the waiting car, my phone buzzed again, this time with a number I didn't recognize. And when I saw the message preview glowing on the screen, my stomach dropped. Because the bank's $186,000 wasn't the whole story. The message preview glowed against the night. "Ms. Lane, additional accounts discovered. Please call immediately. Balance exceeds $400,000. My chest tightened. 400,000. My breath caught in my throat, the number so large it felt unreal, like the weight of it might crush me where I stood. Dad's eyes flicked to the screen, and for the first time all night, he looked afraid, not of me, not of exposure, but of the truth that was no longer containable. "Harper," Mom whispered, her voice trembling, "you don't understand. Your grandfather set up those accounts. He trusted us to manage them. We only stole them." I finished for her, my voice sharp. "You used my future to fund your greed." Grandpa stepped out of the ballroom just then, leaning heavily on his cane, his sharp eyes sweeping the scene. "What's going on out here?" he demanded. No one spoke. The silence was suffocating. Then I handed him my phone. His hands trembled slightly as he read, his jaw tightening with every word. When he looked up, his gaze was colder than winter. 400,000. In her name? Explain yourselves. Mom stammered. Dad tried to step forward, but Grandpa's cane slammed against the ground with a crack that echoed. "Enough," he barked. "I've spoiled you, shielded you, and this is what you've done to her?" Mom's face crumpled, tears spilling freely now. Dad's shoulders sagged, the fight draining from him. But I didn't need their apologies anymore. The evidence was iron. The witnesses were here. And for once, the narrative wasn't theirs to control. The best man, my silent anchor, spoke softly. "Ms. Lane, you hold all the power now. You decide how far this goes." I looked at my parents, their faces pale, broken, stripped of arrogance. The same people who called me their embarrassment, who mocked me in front of friends, who treated me like less than nothing, were finally on their knees. Part of me wanted to scream, to demand they feel every ounce of pain they had poured into me. But another part, quieter, steadier, knew revenge didn't need noise. Revenge needed truth. And truth was already burning through them like fire. Grandpa turned to me, his voice softer now. "What do you want, Harper?" I met his gaze, steady, unshaken. "The same thing they stole from me," I said. "My freedom." And as the night deepened, I realized tomorrow would not be about revenge anymore. It would be about closure. The ballroom was still buzzing with laughter and clinking glasses, but outside, the air had shifted. It wasn't celebration anymore, it was judgment. My parents sat silent, pale, their world crumbling under the weight of numbers they could no longer deny. Grandpa stood tall despite his cane, his eyes fixed on me. "What do you want done?" he asked again, his tone grave. I looked at them, at the two people who raised me, who should have protected me, who instead stole my future and mocked me in public like I was nothing. For years, I had carried their weight, shouldered their lies, drowned under their debts. Now the debts were theirs. "I don't want their apologies," I said quietly. "I don't want excuses. I want my life back. And I want the truth to follow them everywhere they go." Grandpa nodded once, his jaw set. "It will. I'll see to it." Mom broke then, sobbing, her carefully painted mask gone. "Please, Harper. We're your parents. Don't destroy us." I met her gaze, calm and steady. "You destroyed yourselves the day you decided your greed mattered more than your daughter." Dad tried to speak, but the best man's presence behind me silenced him. For once, I didn't need to shout. My quiet resolve was louder than all their cruelty. The next morning, everything moved fast. The attorney filed. The bank froze accounts. The police arrived with questions they could no longer dodge. And by evening, the whispers began to spread, through family, through friends, through the same community where my parents had laughed about me being their embarrassment. Only now the punchline was theirs. The humiliation they had built for me became their legacy. As for me, I walked away. No more 3 jobs. No more carrying debts that weren't mine. No more swallowing shame that didn't belong to me. I rented a small apartment that was mine alone, a space untouched by their shadows. The silence there didn't hurt, it healed. One night, sitting by the window with the city lights glowing, I thought of them. Of my mother's laugh, my father's smug pride, their cruel words at that wedding. And I smiled. Not because I hated them, not because I wanted them to suffer, but because justice had finally spoken louder than their lies. My name is Harper Lane, and I am no one's embarrassment anymore.